Parables from nature. A parable. What is it? Well, it's a little story with a lot of truth in it. An earthly story with a heavenly meaning. The story you're about to be told reminds us of a parable that Jesus told. A parable that teaches us a very special lesson about God. Dr. Retriever's surprise.
You know, every town needs a good doctor. And when I got out of medical school, I learned that the residents of Marshland didn't have any doctor at all to take care of them. So I came right away. I brought my doctor's bag and my medicines, and I found a little house that I could use as an office. I even put up a sign so that people would know I was here to help them. Do you see the letters MD after my name? Roger Retriever, MD. That means I'm a doctor of medicine.
But weeks went by, and nobody came to visit Dr. Retriever. He had nothing to do except go fishing in the little stream that ran by his office. That was because some residents of Marshland didn't trust Dr. Retriever at all, and they warned the others to stay away from him. Mr. and Mrs. Tanager were sure that Dr. Retriever meant no good at all.
We know all about retrievers. They like to chase birds, so you'd better stay away from that doctor.
Then one day, Mr. Spaniel came home to find his youngest son, Rusty, caught in the fence. He'd been trapped there for hours, waiting for help to come along. But Mr. Spaniel soon managed to set him free. Poor Rusty had hurt his back while struggling to get loose, and he didn't feel at all well. His father put him to bed right away. Mr. Spaniel was very worried about Rusty, so he hurried off to see Dr. Retriever.
Oh, please, doctor, could you come quickly? My son has had an accident. Why, of course. Let me get my bag.
On their way back to the Spaniel's home, they passed by Mr. and Mrs. Tanager.
Look, there goes that new doctor. I wonder what he's up to. I'll just bet he's looking for trouble.
Well, you're not hurt too badly, Rusty. Just a sprain is all. You keep those bandages on and rest in bed for a few days, and you'll be up and about in no time. Dr. Retriever, you've been so kind. Now, I have another favor to ask of you. I hope it's not too much trouble, but would you have time to stop by the dog pound? An old friend of mine, Manny Mutt, is in there, and he hasn't been feeling a bit well. I think he's just lonely, and I know a call from you would cheer him up.
And so the doctor set off to the dog pond. When Mrs. Tanager saw where he was going, she said,
To the dog pound? Why, the place where those creatures live that nobody wants. This proves he's not the kind of doctor to live in our neighborhood.
On his way, he helped Susie Squirrel with her heavy basket of nuts.
Oh, how nice of you, Doctor. Look at him, wasting time on that good-for-nothing squirrel girl.
He helped a moth with a broken wing and found him some juicy leaves to eat until he could fly again.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. Helping a moth? Now, if it had been some monarch butterfly, we could see some reason for it. But a drab little moth.
Dr. Retriever put a splint on an injured red-winged blackbird, and Mrs. Tanager was terribly upset about that.
There, I knew it. Now he's getting the birds in his clutches. I know what he's up to. He can't fool me.
At the dog pound, Dr. Retriever found Manny Mutt as well as many other inmates who needed his help. Dogs who lived in the pound seldom had anyone come to visit them. Later, Dr. Retriever returned home and settled down to read the evening paper.
Look at this. It says here that the hunting season begins tomorrow. Oh, my. Now I'll really be busy. Bullets always seem to go astray and cause needless accidents.
And Dr. Retriever was busy. From morning till night, he rescued wounded animals and brought them back to his little office for help. Then, one day, much to his surprise, he saw that Mr. Tanager had been hurt, and so he stopped to bandage his broken wing. He was all set to help Mr. Tanager back to his nest when Mrs. Tanager came along, and what a fuss she made.
Let him alone, Doctor. You are not going to run off with my husband. Put him down. Put him down.
But Mr. Tanager liked Dr. Retriever and continued to visit him to have his wing treated.
This wing of yours looks as good as new, Mr. Tanager. Still, I'd be careful with it for another week or so.
You've been so good to me, Doctor. I'll never be able to thank you enough.
As soon as Mr. Tanager left, he flew from tree to tree, rounding up the citizens of Marshland. But Mrs. Tanager still couldn't understand why her husband liked Dr. Retriever so much.
Neighbors, I've called this meeting because I think we've all seen what Dr. Retriever has been doing for us. He has given of himself day after day, not only treating the sick, but visiting the lonely, feeding the hungry, and cheering the downhearted. I've been trying to think of some way that we could thank him for all he has done for us and our community. What do you think about building him a real hospital with an apartment of his own at the back?
But how can you be so sure of him? I've never known a single retriever who could be trusted.
I'd like to help.
I'll never forget when he visited me in the pond.
Yeah, me too.
He fixed my leg.
He mended my wing.
Then it's agreed. We'll start tomorrow. My dear, won't you change your mind and help us?
Well, he did fix your broken wing. And I suppose he has helped so many of our neighbors. Maybe I have been hasty. Yes, I'll help. I'll be glad to help.
And so the birds and animals all worked hard, carrying supplies and putting up the building, until one day it was all finished. Then they put up the sign reading, Hospital, Roger Retriever, M.D. Now their surprise was ready. Mr. Spaniel summoned Dr. Retriever and presented him with the key to his brand new quarters. The doctor was so delighted that he didn't know what to say. Finally, the doctor asked them,
But why? Why have you done this for me?
Because when we were sick,
You took care of us.
when we were lonely,
You cheered us up.
when we were hungry,
You fed us. 3 cheers for Dr. Retriever.
This story of Dr. Retriever reminds us of one Jesus told about people who were kind and helpful to others. He said that one day these people would be brought before a great king, and the king would say to them, Come, inherit the kingdom prepared for you. For when I was hungry, you gave me food. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. But the people were surprised and asked, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or sick or in prison and visit you? And the king answered, Inasmuch as you have done it unto one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you have done it unto me.